The Miami Dolphins snap a 3-game losing streak with a massive road victory against the Los Angeles Rams, 23-15. And there is a lot of positive things to take away from this game and optimism for the foreseeable future from this squad. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Welcome in as Tua Tagovailoa led this team to a victory. It was not the prettiest game for the Miami Dolphins. It simply was not. But it's hard to call this team a good team, but I can use this phrase that good teams find a way to win no matter how ugly it looks. And this was a win that you kind of sit back and realize, like, okay, this is the Dolphins football team that we were expecting in the beginning of the season, the preseason. They were physical on the defensive end. The defense was fantastic. You generated pressure. You bent but did not break. The offense did enough to win in big-time moments. And yes, the Tua Tagovailoa performance wasn't great, but I'm never going to complain about a win, and I'm never going to apologize for a win. And we'll start with the offense here. It was a rough game. It was. I mean, you scored 23 points, but when you think of how this happened, you had a perfectly scripted drive to start the game. 3 minutes, touchdown, 70 yards, right away. And then you really struggled for the rest of the half. You had a Tua bad interception. You had a bad Tua strip sack. Like, you really struggled in that first half after the initial touchdown drive. But then in the second half, you come out and right away, the script in the second half, perfect. You score a touchdown on your first drive of the half. And then you ultimately only get 3 total possessions in the entire second half. The other 2 resulted in field goals before the last one, which was a kneel down, which really doesn't count. But when you think about it then, you're talking about an offense that scored 2 touchdowns today, and then you had 3 field goals. But both touchdowns came when Mike McDaniel was able to script plays. And I don't really want to make this a negative thing at all, but it is slightly concerning, interesting, if you will, that Miami was only able to score touchdown drives today when they had a script going into that possession. Something to monitor going forward. But like I said, I'm never going to complain about a win. Specifically on Tua Tagovailoa, it was up and down. An efficient night again for the most part. 20 completions, 28 attempts, 1 touchdown. Good throw to Tyreek Hill at the 1-yard line. Little RPO action where Hill on an out route just beat the nickel corner. Just perfectly thrown football on time. Good execution there where Tyreek got his first touchdown since NFL Week 1 when he had that 80-yarder against the Jacksonville Jaguars to deliver a win. So that was big time from Tyreek Hill and company. The interception was bad. I got to be honest. Tua was not erratic, but he had a couple plays that could have been turnovers that ultimately weren't turnovers. So we got lucky. Now, as much as I want to flip this conversation, one last note on Tua. On that put-away drive that went from up 8 to up 11 with 2.5 to go, thanks to that Jason Sanders 50-yard field goal, you had one play that stuck out, and it was a Tua Tagovailoa first down pass to this man right here, Malik Washington. It was an 18-yard out route. Tua takes the snap, recognizes the zone coverage from Los Angeles, and delivers an absolute strike to Malik Washington for an 18-yard catch and a first down, and it was massive. It was unbelievably huge. 17 yards, excuse me. That was the 18 rushing yard touchdown. But it was a great out route, and there was a too high look where it was a zone coverage. The corner took the flat where the running back Achane was, and then the high safety was high, and Tua just recognized it perfectly, saw the bottom flat, go to the running back, created enough of a window. Yes, that bottom corner flattened back out to Malik Washington, but the anticipation, the accuracy was so perfect where it didn't give the corner an opportunity to get his hand on the ball, even though he dove an outstretched hand. And that ultimately put Miami in field goal range and allowed them to go up 23-12 and was ultimately the deciding factor in this game because the Rams had to settle for 3 instead of trying to go down 8 and then the onside kick and blah, blah, blah. But a perfectly executed play by Tua. So there was ups and there was downs for Tagovailoa today. But He did what a franchise quarterback does, and he delivered a much-needed 3-point drive with under 6 minutes to go, took time off the clock, and put you up 2 scores when you needed to. Tua Tagovailoa did the big things when he needed to, and that's what you need out of your QB1. What was your biggest takeaway from this Dolphins win? My takeaway, season's not over, folks. As much as I've been negative on this team at times after a 2-6 start to the year, when you really start to look at the record ahead of you, I don't want to get ahead of myself. You've got 2 games in a row that are winnable. We'll talk about that at the end of today's instant reaction. But, man, you really start to believe that there's something brewing here, potentially, if you start to stay healthy and get things moving in the right direction. All right, we'll round out the offense with a couple more guys that I want to talk about before we get to the defense, which is really the main story of this game. Jonnu Smith had a big-time play, and we talked about that touchdown drive to open up the half. Well, the reason why they were able to get there was Jonnu Smith having a 34-yard completion. Only had 3 catches today, 45 yards, very, very good. I took his over in yards in DraftKings, by the way. I'll tell you more about DraftKings too. But it was a 3rd and 3 in field goal range at the 35. But Jonnu Smith comes on a little crosser, catches it. Nice read by Tua against his own defense. Makes 2 men miss, bounces off arm tackles, and then rumbles and stumbles down to the 1-yard line, setting up that touchdown to put Miami up 17-6 early in the 3rd quarter with that Tyreek Hill touchdown. And Jonnu was a key in this whole game. My keys to victory before the game, these were air it out, got to get pressure, get Jonnu Smith involved, and slow down Kyren Williams. Well, if we want to go down the line here, air it out, didn't really do that. Got to get pressure. You got a lot of pressures, 4 sacks today. And we're going to talk about the defense in just a second, but you've had 1 sack in the last 3 games combined against Indianapolis, Arizona, Buffalo. You got 4 today. You were on Matthew Stafford's ass all day long. You got Jonnu Smith involved, like I said, and you slowed down Kyren Williams enough, only had about 62 rushing yards and didn't allow him to get in the end zone after not having a good rushing defense coming into this game. Keys to victory were keys to victory for a reason. They were able to get it done, and that's why we're sitting here with a win in 3-6 rather than 2-7. All right, we're going to talk more in depth about the defense and the upcoming schedule in just a second, but we are sponsored by DraftKings, the #1 sportsbook and casino, and you need to get started with them during this football season, but with the NBA season being here as well. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams, split into 6 groups, every Tuesday and Friday playing for the right to advance in the single elimination in-season tourney, culminating in the NBA Cup Championship in Vegas. First time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code HEATCHAT. That's code HEATCHAT for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And with the NBA Cup starting on Tuesday, you can get started there, but you can also make bets with the app for football every week. And I am a happy camper after a nice little Monday night football evening. I had Dolphins money line tonight. Hey, we won. I trusted the squad on plus money. And I also took Jonnu Smith over 35.5 receiving yards. And like you saw earlier, he had 45, so that's a cash job. Let's go. Lines and odds are subject to change on DraftKings, but get started today. Download the app and use code HEATCHAT to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place a $5 wager. Shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's show. Let's flip it over to the defense now because they were impressive, man. And you allowed only 327 yards, and I'll say this, you were on the field defensively for most of that second half. Now, you dominated the time of possession in the first half because you forced 2 straight 3-and-outs to start the game, which wasn't good, which allowed you to build that time of possession lead. But you were on the field a long time defensively in that second half, and you didn't break. You gave up yards, yes. You allowed 4.8 yards per play, sure. But what happened when the Rams threatened? Nothing. They had to settle for field goals left and right. They had 5 field goals today. And actually, on the final 5 possessions of the game for the Rams, 6 possessions, excuse me. It went field goal, missed field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. And you're going to look at that and say, well, you gave up points and attempts of a field goal on 6 straight possessions. Sure, but in the National Football League, if you're only giving up field goals, they can get a field goal on every possession they have. I don't care. Because when you have an offense like the one you have, you are anticipating your ability to score 23-plus points a game. And that means if you have 7 field goals, you're going to win. So, sure, it's a dumb way to think about it, but in reality, it's going to net you wins. So, I like that the defense came to play. It was the first time that in a long time, probably since the Indianapolis game, so I guess only 3 games, where I can confidently say I am proud of this defense, and I feel good about the defense moving forward once again because it's been ugly the past 2 weeks, blowing second halves, not stopping a nosebleed against Arizona or Buffalo, but you limited Kyren Williams. You got after Matthew Stafford all night long. They were great. And you weren't going to slow down these 2 wide receivers, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. They're just too good. It's the best wide receiver duo in football. Usually, I said that it was Tyreek and Jaylen, but the way they played this year, unfortunately, it's probably Kupp and Nacua, which is fine. But you were able to do enough defensively to disrupt the passing game based off the pressure. Calais Campbell was unbelievable today. He was. He had 2 PBUs and a sack. One of the PBUs resulted in an interception off the tip. One was an incompletion that almost was intercepted, and he had the sack. Chop Robinson, who's starting to come along here. We'll see how much he charted here, but he had 3 pressures against Arizona, 3 pressures and a sack against Buffalo, and a sack in the first quarter of this game as well. Chop Robinson, the rookie, is starting to get moving here and really starting to look good, and why he was the first-round pick from the Dolphins this past NFL draft. And you got a couple big plays from Zach Sealer in the run game, PBU as well. You saw Quentin Bell late in that first half. It still resulted in a field goal for the Rams, but strips at sacking Matthew Stafford. I mean, it's just an impressive all-around performance from this Dolphins football team. No standouts, no crazy plays, but just sound football for the most part. You take away the 2 possessions in a row where Tua throws a pick and then gets strip sacked in the first half in that second quarter, and you played almost perfect complementary football for the most part. So I'm liking the way that's heading for this Dolphins football team. I was quite impressed with the grit and determination for this team, despite a 2-6 record, to come on the road here and get a win against a solid Rams football team. Despite them being under 500 now, I still think this is a good win if you're the Miami Dolphins, and one that you should be proud of and hanging your hat on in this one. All right, we're going to have final thoughts and close out the show here in just a second, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we're still dropping content on a daily basis. We're live for every single Dolphins football game. We'll be live this upcoming Sunday when we take on the Raiders in Miami at home, but we're going to be live tomorrow as well for Victory Tuesday and Overreaction Tuesday, and dropping videos every day. So hit that sub button. Make sure you are here on the channel. All right, before we round out of here, I said last week and this entire week that I was not going to believe in this Dolphins football team unless they won 4 games in a row to get back to 6-6. And only then would I start to believe and trust this team again. And it sucks that I am not a man of my word because I feel so good about this team after this win because they showed everything that you wanted. The offensive line had its worst game in 2 months today, and you still won on the road. You had Kendall Fuller go down with injury, concussion, and he's out, and we'll talk about that injury tomorrow. Kader Coe, who left the game, came back. We'll talk about injury. Kendall Lamb, Robert Jones. A lot of injury news today that we're going to talk about tomorrow. And you have Austin Jackson that went on IR, and he'll miss the next 3 games after this one at minimum. But you got the Raiders and Patriots at home in the next 2 weeks. Those should be wins without a question. And if that's the case, you are 5-6 going into Thursday Night Football against Green Bay. If you're able to win that game, you're 6-6 with games against the Jets, Texans, 49ers, Browns, and Jets to close out. There is no reason to me why this football team, if they continue to play the way they did today, cannot go at worst. At worst, 6-2 in the final 8. You go 6-2 in the final 8, you're 9-8. You do that, tiebreakers could get you into the playoffs. Because right now, the current 5 seed or the last playoff team is the Denver Broncos at 5-5. Do they go 10-7? I don't know. I don't think so. 4-3 stretch for them down the season. That sounds right to me. Now, can you go on a crazy heater and go 10-7? Probably not. But 6-2, 9-8, that might net you the 7th wild card spot. With how this season began, I would take any postseason appearance without a question. Yes, it would set you up probably to travel to Buffalo or Pittsburgh/Baltimore, but that's an issue for the future. The point is, unfortunately, I said I wasn't going to do it, but I have hope again, and I'm going to believe. And if you're with me, let me know down in the comment section, because I'm just happy that the Dolphins were able to get a win. First time we saw that since the first week of October. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you are subscribed on the channel. Like I said, we'll be live again tomorrow, breaking down Victory Tuesday. We'll also have a video in the morning. We'll have a video afternoon as well, breaking down the latest around this football team. Because there is a lot to talk about, injury news and overreactions from this win. So make sure to subscribe for that and the content to come.